All right, we are live with a post-game instant reaction podcast here. And fellas, the preseason, thank the Lord, is finally freaking over. I mean, my God, dude.
Yeah, thankfully, and for the most part, they got out of it with no injuries. Right, you always see these teams. Right, Etienne, J.K. Dobbins last night. You just kind of hope and pray that nothing crazy happens. And obviously, there's going to be some nicks and bruises. Right, like John Jones is battling something right now. I think he was there and present for the media portion on Friday. I didn't get a chance to go down, so obviously probably not risking much there, but. The good thing is, like I said, they're out of there. They're out of it. No injuries. Now it's, let's get ready for week one and about 2 weeks from today. Yeah. So,
Yep.
thankfully it's over. I thought, actually, I just dug it up too. The first time since 2003, they finished with a perfect record in the preseason. Not that we hang, Colts type banners over here, like the Ravens,
Maybe the Ravens,
20
yeah.
straight
Yeah.
preseason wins. But I think overall, if you're Bill Belichick, you walk away from this preseason pretty happy with your football team. I thought, the positional groups that you spend a lot of money in and spend a lot of time investing in were astronomically better from last year. And like I said, you're walking away pretty happy with where your team's at this point.
Yeah, I mean, that pass rush is stupid, but it was nice tonight. You got to see, I mean, everybody on the roster pretty much that wasn't hurt or an established veteran got to play. Like all the DBs got to play, those guys scratching for a roster spot. So it was nice to see everybody. It's the last time you're going to see a lot of those faces. Cut down days on Tuesday. Like those guys are going to move on and do whatever their post-NFL career is, right? So it's nice to get to see everybody kind of show out a little bit in the preseason, but now it's almost time for real football, right? 2 weeks.
No, and that's the thing, right? There's a lot of these guys out here, and we were just talking about it off air, like Michael Jackson. Like, my God, that guy. I mean, it's bad. It's bad. So I was like, just do that guy a favor and cut his ass. Like, my goodness, and I mean, look, it is what it is. I mean, those guys just aren't going to play in the NFL, and so, I think there were definitely some ups and downs. I thought the running back position, you saw some really great things in the running back position. And listen, I know Murph out there is watching, and I apologize ahead of time, Murph, but I'm finding it very difficult to give a single reason why Brandon Bolden needs to be on this team. Like, I can't give one. There's too many guys that can play running back ahead of him. There are. J.J. Taylor's proven he can do it. Stevenson has proven he can do it. You have Damian Harris, and then you also have James White. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to keep Brandon Bolden too and have him just play special teams? That doesn't make any sense. Like, you keep a guy that can actually play his position and also play special teams, right? And so, guys like that are going to get cut. The broadcast kept talking about Harvey Lange, like he's a lock to make the team. Like, what are you, nuts? That guy, he's like, oh, he's got tons of versatility. No, he doesn't. He sucks at playing linebacker. He's a special teams guy. It's like, that's just dumb. What are we doing here?
Well, they had about 60 guys making the 53-man roster. Every guy on the team right now is going to make the team, apparently. So it's one of those things, right, where it's nice to see, like, a guy shows up in the preseason, week 3, last week of the preseason. Right. You want to give him a roster spot. That's just not how it works, right? So
one guy I thought too that had a good nice night, kind of out of nowhere too, was D'Angelo Ross. Got the start out of the slot with Jones out. Made a big tackle, I believe it was on 3rd and short earlier in the game, and then obviously made that interception in the end zone. I thought he played pretty well. That's a guy was undrafted, kind of battled his way through the Patriots practice squad the last few years. I don't think he squeezes his way on the 53-man just because of there's not really a spot for him, even though how thin they are kind of at corner. It's mainly on the outside, and he's not an outside guy. But that's a guy who, maybe you have a place for him on special teams down the road. Ultimately probably ends up back on your practice squad. But like you said, an opportunity to get guys like that some more face time and some, much needed snaps on the field. But I think overall, I would have liked to see Cam play a little bit more. I think it was Henry McKenna pulled up. He played just 35 snaps this preseason. I thought that was pretty light for a guy that I think a lot of us would like to think is battling for his job. I mean, maybe he has a lot more security than we all think, but 35 snaps for a guy who you hope improves mightily, or he's kind of on that short leash. Like I said, it was great to see Mac for as much as we did this preseason. I thought that was kind of the highlight, but overall. Too much Hoyer in the fourth, and too less of Cam.
I think the big thing that we saw today was it was a carbon copy with how they were using the quarterbacks all 3 preseason games. Cam got the first, Mac got second and third, and then Hoyer got the fourth. They did that all 3. So if that doesn't tell you that Cam's the starter and Mac is the guy who they want to see because he's the rookie and kind of really feel out the level that he's at, and then Hoyer's the third guy who's probably not going to make the team, might stick around in the practice squad. I think they painted the picture for you, right? Like they know what the quarterback situation is. And we heard from Belichick after the game. He said, we have a lot of decisions to make. We don't know who the starting quarterback is when he was asked. I think if Brady was still here, he'd say, if someone asked him, he'd be like, yeah, who knows who's going to start a quarterback?
Right.
That's just who Belichick is. So we'll see on September 12th. But, I mean, from everything we've seen this preseason, just in terms of usage, I think Cam's the quarterback for now.
I mean, there's just no – I'll be honest with you. I don't think that Bill gave Mac an opportunity to win the starting job, right? Cam got all the first team snaps. Cam was always the first guy out there. Even in the preseason games, like he was out there with the first team basically the entire time. So Mac never really had a chance to go against the ones, to play with the ones, to really get it until the few days that Cam was out. And what happened the few days Cam was out? He lit it up, right? But that doesn't matter. It didn't change anything when he came back to practice on Thursday. So, I don't think it ever came into his mind. And I think I said after the Patriots drafted him, I said there are 2 things that Bill Belichick absolutely hates in this life, and that's the New York Jets and rookie quarterbacks. And I don't see how you can look at this preseason and think that Bill Belichick is going to start Mac Jones. Now, we can argue about whether he deserves it or not. We can argue about whether who's looked better. And I think there's an argument for Mac looking just as good, if not better, than Cam. But that's irrelevant. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, Bill Belichick is going to start Cam Newton at quarterback week 1. And really, I think through the entire season, I think that's the plan. And then if that goes awry, it goes awry. But I think that we're rolling with Cam no matter what, essentially. Mac, will see you next year. Learn everything you can this year and go from there.
In terms of the facts, there's no real argument about it, right? There's the plan, and it's Cam's going to be the starter, Mac's going to be the backup this year. They haven't deviated from it unless they've been forced to with right. Cam missing 5 days. And somebody asked me today, why does Mac only play with the backups during the preseason? It's because he's the backup. He's the backup quarterback. And I think a lot of the quarterback controversy and competition, there was a lot made of it when there really probably wasn't much there in terms of them actually making the decision to make a move. So, right. I mean, we've talked about it for 3 weeks straight. We've been talking about the quarterbacks, and you can only say so much before you finally realize, they're not changing. So why are we going to talk ourselves in circles about it? It is what it is. Cam's going to be your starter. Mac's going to be the backup until they're forced to make a change.
Right. Yep. I agree. So, anyways, look, we're just so sick of the stupid preseason. Just get us to the damn regular season. And now we got a bye week this week. So cut down day, of course, is Tuesday. For those of you that weren't sure, Tuesday at 3:00. So I'm sure we'll have some sort of breaking news, a podcast or something like that on Tuesday afternoon, talking about that. There might be some trades that go along with that. Of course, then it's the cut down to 53. But then if you're going to throw anyone on IR, N'Keal Harry's a perfect example. He's going on IR. I'm convinced he's going on IR. You can't really trade him because he has to.
He has to get through.
He has to be on the 53 man.
So he has to be on the 53. So they technically have to risk losing a guy just to get him onto IR.
Yep.
So
right.
And that's
this is going to be every year. There's some. I mean, I guess maybe not so much last year because it was a weird year, but every year. There's some sort of weird cut or something crazy kind of happens that you kind of saw out of nowhere. I'm sure we'll have that Tuesday. So gear up.
And it's the same way with every list. I'm sure everybody knows, but to reiterate, you can't just keep Stephon Gilmore on the PUP list until he's ready to go. You have to put him on your active roster and then move him to the active PUP during the season.
Correct.
So there's no keeping. Same with all the guys on the or the couple guys on NFI. There's going to be a lot of movement on. I mean, tomorrow, it's going to start tomorrow morning and then heading into Tuesday. There's going to be a ton of movement. So a lot to keep out for. And just to plug real quick, Burns got me right in everything. Shout out Burn and the baby. Hope you're doing great. But we're going to have a ton of stuff up on the website. So if you need to see who they cut, all that stuff, patspulpit.com.
No doubt. But yeah, so let's get into that, because I think that's a good way to kind of end this show. First of all, some guys that really popped tonight, I thought J.J. Taylor-Ramondre continues to impress running the ball. Isaiah Zuber popped a little bit today. I think it might be a little too late for him. Christian Wilkinson played well today too, and it might not be too late for him.
Didn't drop one. That's all you needed to see, right?
That's big. That's big. The kicking controversy is going to be interesting. That competition is going to be really interesting to see who makes it out of those two guys. I still think it's going to be Nordin, but who knows?
And I haven't said it to you yet, Pat, but I think it's going to be Folk. Just like you talk about something that Belichick might hate more than rookie quarterbacks, rookie kickers, undrafted guys who have been inconsistent, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be very interesting.
Yeah,
we've got 2 points of view here, so I'm sure they've got different points of view in Foxborough.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they do. Maybe Nordin will get the Foxborough flu. But so anyways, all right, let's get into, though, I want to do one surprise cut and one surprise guy that's going to make the team, right? So like that 53rd guy that sneaks on that no one thinks is going to make the roster. So who wants to start? Well, you want to do surprise cut first and then surprise guy that makes the roster first, or how do you want to do it?
Let's go surprise cut, because I've got one that I tweeted out earlier that I don't know if it's going to be true. I was half joking, I half wasn't, but there's a chance, and there's some solid reasoning behind. Gunnar Olszewski has shown that he's not ready to play wide receiver in the NFL, right? It's been a tough preseason for him, tough training camp. And you got a guy in J.J. Taylor who looked great returning punts today. So this is going to be the second year in a row that I'm going to be proven wrong, probably, by Gunnar. I did it last year. I ended up losing money on it. But my surprise cut, I'll say Gunnar Olszewski, just because it'll be nice to rub in people's faces if it happens.
Love it. Woo!
For me, if we did this a week and a half ago, I probably would have said Jawan. But I think with how thin they are outside, he can probably fill a void there. But for me, it's Henry Anderson. I know Belichick has spoke a lot about him. They spent he was a day one guy in free agency, but I think every single preseason game he's played well into the fourth quarter. And with Barmore coming on and just a lot of logjam up in the middle, I don't know if they have a spot for him.
That one's a good one too, because he's another guy that he's just playing. It's never good to see a guy playing late into in preseason.
Winnow has two, but I mean he's coming back, so maybe it's conditioning reasons to get his reasons. Like I think there's zero reason to cut him, because I think he provides value on a rookie contract.
Right. There's something there with Winovich. You don't really know if there's there's no role for Anderson where he can play it really well. There is with Winovich.
Correct. Yeah. So Winovich is actually a guy that he's not a cut. There's a 0% chance that Winovich gets cut. I do think there's a possibility that he gets traded because there are just so many edge guys. They have a million edge guys. They have Uche, and they have Judon, and they have Van Noy. They just have a ton of them. And Dietrich Y is probably gone after this year, but either way, right? I wonder if he's the odd man out. Now he started on the PUP list, so it's we didn't get a full camp from him, so it's possible. The other guy who would be the cut would be Montravius Adams. Adams signed with the Patriots this year, signed to a decent contract, nothing crazy, but still signed to a decent contract. And he's another guy who's been playing late into games, hasn't really shown a ton. He's played well here, in spots, but really hasn't done much. So Montravius Adams, I could definitely see getting cut. All right, Keegan, why don't you lead us off with the surprise makes? That doesn't make any sense. I don't know. The surprise guy on the 53-man roster.
Right, yeah. This might be cheating a little bit, because I do think they're going to stash him on IR after they get him on the 53. But Matt Lacoste, with the injuries that you've had at tight end, I don't see how you can keep 3 tight ends and be comfortable with at some point someone's going to get banged up. Hunter Henry's got such a long injury history. He's out right now. Jonnu Smith, he got dinged up during training camp. Devin Asiasi missed time with COVID. I think you're going to need a 4th guy, maybe not to be active on the roster every week, but just someone around an NFL caliber tight end to maybe fill that role, especially if you're going to be running 22 personnel, 12 personnel with 2 tight ends, you're going to need 4. You can't just roll with 3, even with a fullback. So I think Matt Lacoste, they'll keep him around the New England area, whether it's on the 53-man throughout the season or not. Like, I think he'll be on the initial one.
Makes sense.
For me, Christian Wilkerson, I've had him on my roster projection both times. I think, especially with N'Keal out now too, there's some room there. Obviously, maybe a little bit uncertainty with Gunner. I think you should watch your mouth, Keegan, but we'll run with that for now. But I think there is value there with him, right? I don't think we haven't seen anything. Nelson Aguilar was the best wide receiver at training camp the first 10 days, and he's been in and out and hasn't really popped, hasn't shown much in the game. And I'm not saying he's going to play over him, but I think carrying that extra receiver won't hurt you. He has value on special teams. I think that's a guy that they like in their room, consistently getting better. I know Keegan can't stand him, but he's my surprise make of the 50.
I like him. If you're going to start slandering N'Keal Harry because you want Wilkerson on the roster, that's a little ridiculous to me. I like the guy. I do. I swear.
I'm going to go with Michael Jet. No, I'm just kidding. No, he's definitely not making the roster. I think I might go with another wide receiver. It's a guy who was on the roster for a little bit of time last year. It's Isaiah Zuber. I just think that he brings a little bit of pop to the receiving core. And Wilkinson, he hasn't had the drops that Wilkinson has had. Now, Wilkinson, I think, has been more consistently open. He probably would have been my guy, to be honest with you. It's back.
Pat, say Wilkerson 10 times fast.
No, I can't. No. I refuse. But that's Zuber, Wilkinson, one of them is making the roster, I think. Wilkinson, isn't it Wilkinson?
Wilkerson. That's why I was telling you to say it 10 times fast. Yeah, Wilkerson. That's why I said say it fast. Say it fast.
Whatever, dude. Whatever,
K-Dub.
One of those
We're
guys.
just gonna start calling him K-Dub.
I like that. K-Dub. That's good. That's a good nickname. Should send that to Cam so he knows.
I'm pretty sure that is Cam's nickname for him.
Oh, there you go. Look at that. Anyways, look, the preseason's done. It's going to be interesting to see what the cut down day looks like. There's going to be a lot of moving parts. I think, to me, the front seven and the secondary and the wide receivers, those are the 3 spots to watch for me, because there's a million guys and they can't keep them all. And so it's like, who's going to make the team that is surprising to us, and who's going to not make the team that we think, that we were like, oh, that guy's definitely going to make it. So it's going to be interesting to see, where they kind of go from there, and who they think they can, that they can keep on and not. So anyways, that's going to do it for us. Listen, it was a long preseason, but we're getting into the regular season. Tomorrow's my first day of school. So like, school's back in session. The preseason is done. We're ready to go. Okay. We're ready to go. And everyone wants real Patriots football. You're going to get it in 2 weeks. Like, we're here. Right. So, but anyways, that's going to do it for us. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We appreciate it. And we'll talk to you this week, Wednesday night. All right. See you.